tes, tes. Tes, tes, tes. 1, 2, 3.
Universitas Gadjah Mada bring ideas to life and make a difference. As an inclusive university, we believe in a world-class education system for all. From the struggle and courage of the Indonesian Revolution for Independence, we started a journey to build the nation. We have since laid the foundation for lifelong learning that extends across generations. As we face rapid cultural and technological shifts, we understand that staying one step ahead of challenges is the way forward. Innovation and transformation are integral to every move we make, including how we deliver education. In response to industry challenges, we are always open to feedback and collaboration. We translate research on food security, sustainable energy, net zero healthcare into useful products and formulate solutions to societal needs and problems as seen from our role and contribution to tackling the COVID-19 pandemic. Our new, ever-developing infrastructure with a variety of supporting systems and modern technology is built to accelerate the pursuit of answers while making everyone feel at home. Through our focus on food, health, and energy, we join hands to make the world a better place now and into the future. Here at ugm, passions are nurtured beyond academic fields. The facilities that cater to their needs, students are given the space to unlock their potential, unleash their creativity, and reach for the stars. Our dedication to community development reaches far and wide to every corner of the archipelago and those closest to us. We synergize and share roles with various stakeholders to build an empowered and resilient community. Our commitment to serving the interests of the nation and humanity has led us to pick up achievements and awards at the individual, group, and institutional levels on the national and international stages. Unity in diversity. We push knowledge forward and make a high community impact that matters in harmony with our long-held principle, globally respected.
Yogyakarta adalah kota istimewa yang kaya akan nilai budaya dan menjunjung tata krama. Menjadi rumah dan saksi sejarah bagi pelajar yang menyiapkan bekal untuk mengejar cita-cita. Departemen Bahasa, Seni, dan Manajemen Budaya atau DBSMB merupakan salah satu departemen yang ada di Sekolah Vokasi Universitas Gadjah Mada. Sebuah departemen dengan visi menjadi departemen terapan yang unggul, bermartabat, dan mampu menghasilkan profesional dalam bidang bahasa, kearsipan, dan kepariwisataan yang berjiwa Pancasila. Dengan tekad berkontribusi demi kemajuan bangsa, DBSMB terus melakukan riset dan menghasilkan inovasi melalui 3 program studi sarjana terapan, yaitu Sarjana Terapan Bahasa Inggris, Sarjana Terapan Bisnis Perjalanan Wisata, Sarjana Terapan Pengelolaan Arsip dan Rekaman Informasi.
Departemen Bahasa, Seni, dan Manajemen Budaya merupakan salah satu departemen di Sekolah Vokasi Universitas Gadjah Mada yang bertujuan untuk menciptakan lulusan yang memiliki kompetensi di bidang kebahasaan, seni, dan manajemen budaya.
DBSMB memiliki Center of Excellence Culture and Tourism atau COE-CNT sebagai wadah kolaborasi antara sivitas akademika DBSMB dengan mitra. Didukung dengan fasilitas penunjang kegiatan akademik dan non-akademik, Departemen berusaha mewujudkan kegiatan belajar mengajar dan penelitian yang unggul untuk mendukung UGM menghasilkan lulusan yang kompeten dan berkiprah memajukan Indonesia. DBSMB berkomitmen untuk menyelenggarakan pendidikan dan penelitian untuk menghasilkan lulusan yang profesional dalam memenangkan persaingan di era global. Selain program riset, Departemen juga melakukan program pengabdian masyarakat demi sebuah kontribusi nyata terhadap bangsa. Selain itu, DBSMB juga memiliki program kemitraan baik dalam negeri maupun luar negeri. Kerjasama dengan mitra diwujudkan dalam berbagai bentuk kegiatan tridharma perguruan tinggi, sehingga lulusan dapat meraih pekerjaan impian. Untuk menyalurkan minat dan bakat, DBSMB memiliki banyak kegiatan mahasiswa dan lingkungan yang dapat memberi kebebasan kreativitas bagi para mahasiswanya. Namun, terus menumbuhkan sikap tanggung jawab.
Semua program studi di sekolah vokasi memiliki tujuan untuk menciptakan lulusan yang dekat dengan industri dan memiliki kompetensi sikap dan pengetahuan yang dibutuhkan oleh industri.
Dengan pembukaan program studi sarjana terapan, DBSMB bertekad untuk menjadi departemen ilmu terapan yang unggul, bermartabat, dan mampu menghasilkan profesional dalam bidang bahasa, kearsipan, dan kepariwisataan yang berjiwa Pancasila.
Hello, tes 1 2 3. Oke. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. Greetings and welcome to webinar event talk number 47. My name is 𝙎𝙖𝙢𝙖𝙢𝙖𝙢. You may call me Jia, and I am excited to be your MC for this event. First, I would like to start off by expressing my heartfelt thanks to all of you for taking the time to join us today. Your participation is greatly appreciated, and we are so glad that you could be here with us today. I would also like to take a moment to express our immense gratitude to the organizer as well as our supervisor who have made this seminar possible. Without their support, we would not be here today. We are truly thankful for their effort and contribution towards the event. We understand that your time is valuable, and we are grateful that you have chosen to spend it with us. We promise to make it worth your while by providing valuable insights and sharing informative knowledge throughout the course of this webinar. So once again, a very warm welcome to all of you. We hope that you find this webinar both engaging and informative. Today's webinar topic revolves around the endeavors of cultural preservation. Throughout this webinar, we will be exploring the impact of, as I said, cultural preservation endeavors, like the intersection of art and government, Generation Z's role play in culture, strengthening cultural heritage, the dance sports, especially in Indonesian culture, and a form called language teaching. We will be exploring this on everyone and discussing various strategies and solutions that can help everyone here to overcome this challenge. The reason why this webinar is so relevant and valuable for all of us here today is that we, the ones who make this event, want to let you know about the importance of cultural preservation, as preserving the cultural heritage is a way of declaring to others that the people and the communities hosting things like museum, historical buildings, and traditions are important and worth protecting. Not to mention the endeavors behind it, because cultural preservation is the act of using deliberate and well-designed methodologies to maintain cultural heritage from the past for the benefits of the present and future generation. We believe that by the end of this session, you will have the better understanding of it. And more importantly, you will gain actionable insights and takeaways that you can apply to your own work and your own project in the future, should you find yourself in similar subject. We absolutely cannot wait to delve deeper and explore this topic together. But before we get started, I would like to go over some important rules for today's webinar. First is, please make sure that you have stable internet connection or in quiet environment to minimize background noise. 2, please use the chat feature to ask any question you may have during the webinar, including questions for the presentation later. Our team will answer as many as possible. Please keep all the questions and comments respectful and relevant to the topic at hand. Any inappropriate behavior will not be tolerated. And please note that today's webinar is being recorded for the future reference. These are just a few guidelines to ensure that everyone has a positive and productive webinar experience. Now, let me explain the rundown of this webinar. The sessions will last approximately 2 hours.
Recording in progress.
With 5 presentations by our expert speakers from Gadjah Mada University in Yogyakarta, Jambi University in, Jambi Sumatera, Halu Oleo in Sulawesi, and an esteemed guest from Ohio, US. To make it quick and concise, first we will play Indonesia Raya, the Indonesian national anthem, then another remark by one of our teachers to officially open the sessions. Then we will do some documentation, as in a photo session before the main part of the event. After that, I will leave the moderator to bring the speakers and presenters to the stage to present their presentations. When it's almost time for the closing, there will be certification and photo sessions exclusively for the speakers alongside their certificates. And finally, we will be ending the webinar event. Well then, I guess that's everything for this. So I believe it's time to start our agenda. The first is we'll be playing Indonesia Raya. All right. Next is to make sure everything goes smoothly and without any mistakes during the entire event. It's within our obligation to pray first, so that aside from a smooth run of the event, I hope that everything we will discuss here can be very, very beneficial for everyone here. Okay? Without further ado, let us pray. Amin. Ya Rabbal Alamin. Okay. Next, I'd like to welcome our representative teacher, Mr. Ahmad Muam, to give us the opening speech. Good morning, Mr. Muam.
Good morning, 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪.
Hi.
Is it audible? Hello?
Yes,
Can you
yes,
hear me?
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
okay,
yes.
thank you. Okay, so for everyone, so a very good morning to all of you. First, I'd like to say thank you to 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪, who already bring us to come to the webinar this morning. And also, the most important thing that probably on behalf of the study program, I would like to say thank you for all of the peoples who make it this webinar happened for all of us, for all of the students as the committee, for all of the supervisor, Miss Dewi, and all of the lecturers who study program are fully support this kind of an activity that enable you to collaborate for setting for the to broaden your academic perspective. Then this morning it seems that we have two guest speakers from other universities, from Universitas Haluleo and Universitas Jambi. So hello, so welcome to Universitas Gadjah Mada. Already we meet in the online, so we are very happy to have you this morning. So hopefully in the futures we might collaborate in more possible way in different activities. And also not to forget to mention, this morning we have a guest speakers, Miss Samantha Perez, from Sociology and Latin American Studies. Okay. Now, this mornings we are talking about the endeavors of cultural preservation here. Me personally interested in these topics, talking about the cultural, right? So sometimes starting when we were born, so we live in a cultures. So actually during our life, we live in a culture. So when we talk about the preserving culture, so for sure we have to understand first the definition of the culture itself, and we also create the cultures. We already have the cultures, so we preserve the cultures and create the cultures. Probably we preserve the good one and creating the better ones, right? And we are living in kind of the Kaizen principle, continuous improvements. So this morning also we are going to share the experience from a different perspective, different backgrounds. Some from the 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪, some from Universitas Jambi. We are talking about the different cultures, and we are going to measure our positions and roles to see the possible contribution in the future to preserve, because we are talking about preservations. So we have to take roles, we have to contribute in preserving. Yeah. Then me this morning was a little bit surprised to see that this webinar is already on number 47. Okay, we started, if I'm not mistaken, starting from the pandemic COVID-19 eras a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, right? So we are very happy to have it. Hopefully it could reach hundred numbers in the future. We might recap it in one files and to show to the people that actually we invite a lot of people to talk, to discuss about the serious topics, then we could contribute from this kind of webinars, and we could make it in one books or probably in a video about series of webinars that we already have. So without further ado, probably that was the opening remarks for me. So I would say congratulations for all of the committees and good luck for this morning webinars. Okay, thank you for everyone.
All right. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Muam, for the welcoming speech. Next, we will doing the photo sessions led by our operator. I believe that the participants are ready. So for all the participants, may I ask to please open up your camera and let's take pictures together. For the operator, please help me take the screenshots for documentation, and you may start now. Okay, sorry for the delay. I'm gonna count from the picture session. All right, I'm gonna start from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, cheese. Okay, now your turn. Let's take a picture once again. From 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, cheese. All right. Thank you for the operator for taking the pictures. Now, I believe I have delayed any further times, so it's time for we will go for the main event. We will be delivered by speakers and presenters, and will be led by our moderator, Kārya Mahendra. Moderator, the mic.
Gosh, thank you very much, Jones. So, hello everyone, good morning. Allow me to formally introduce myself. My name is Karel Edward Mahendra, and in this opportunity, I will be acting as the moderator for today's webinar event. Now, if you'd please allow me to iterate some points for the main session of today's event. First of all, we will first have a total of 5 separate presentation sessions, each exploring different subjects from the perspective of cultural preservation. The speakers will be given about 15 minutes to deliver their presentation, and after delivering their materials, we will hold a Q&A session for each of the speakers. Participants are encouraged to ask any questions regarding the topic that was presented by the speakers. Now, participants may ask via the chat box, but we highly encourage participants to raise their hand and ask their questions directly for a more engaging session for everyone. Now, I'm sure we are all already excited for the main event, so without further ado, let us call upon the first group of speakers from Halu Oleo University from Southeast Sulawesi. The members of this group are Andi Nur Taqwa Pacinogi and Muhammad Fauzan Azim Nurrahman, with the theme Strengthening Cultural Heritage, tracing the journey of Tari Molulo in Southeast Sulawesi society. Hello, Andi and Fauzan. How are you guys?
Oh, we're really great. We just had a breakfast actually before the meeting.
Oh, great. If I may interrupt here for a second, what did you guys have for breakfast? Because I'm sure we here from Jogja and from Sulawesi have different tastes preferences.
Well, we're actually currently at the McD right now, so we just make this stuff. It's not really special, so we have similar menu. Yeah.
I see. So I guess we have some similarities there, but I'm sure the culture we have are going to be very different. So are you guys ready to present your materials?
Yeah, we are ready.
Great. Now, without further ado, the screen is yours.
Okay. So, hi everyone. Let us introduce ourselves. My name first is Andi Nur Taqwa Pacinogi. I am a English literature student on my first semester. I'm actually from Jambi, so it's a surprise. I'm from Jambi, but here I'm presenting Southeast Sulawesi, especially 𝗧𝗧, to present our material with the title Strengthening Cultural Heritage, tracing the journey of Tari Molulo in Southeast Sulawesi society. And my member is Muhammad Fauzan Azim Nurrahman. And in here we will tell a brief about what is Tari Molulo. You guys might have not heard about it, and I will make sure that you guys will be interested in Tari Molulo. So the first material will be presented by my friend Muhammad Fauzan Nurrahman. So without further ado, I think we should start the presentation.
Okay, so I will be presenting about the material. My name is Muhammad Fauzan Nurrahman, and here are the materials. So Tari Molulo is a vibrant dance from Southeast Sulawesi, Indonesia. It symbolizes the rich cultural heritage of the region and serves as powerful means of preserving traditions and identity. Tari Molulo is more than just a dance. A living state testament to the customs, values, and ancestral tradition, and local community through captivating movements, colorful costumes, and rhythmic music. It connects generations, keeping their heritage alive and relevant in today's world. The dynamic dance showcases the history, beliefs, and unique way of life in Southeast Sulawesi. Its intricate choreography and graceful gestures convey stories and emotion, bridging the past with the present. Participating in Tari Molulo actively engage individuals in preserving their cultural heritage. It introduces younger generation and traditional values of their ancestors, for fostering a sense of cultural continuity and pride. In conclusion, Tari Molulo is a powerful symbol of culture, preservation, it keeps alive the tradition and identity of Southeast Sulawesi, ensuring the future generation embrace and cherish their heritage. I'm delighted to present to you the fascinating costumes of Tari Molulo dancers. These vibrant ensembles play a crucial role in showcasing the rich cultural heritage of region. So let's dive into the intricate details of their captivating costumes. Point 1, female dancer. Firstly, let's focus on the costume worn by female Tari Molulo dancer. They gave a stage in a stunning combination of traditional elements. The foundation of their attire is elegant kebaya and beautifully designed traditional blouse. It adds grace and sophistication to their appearance. Complementing the kebaya, they wear sarongs that feature intricate patterns and vibrant colors. These sarongs showcase the region's cultural motifs and artistic craftsmanship. Point 2, female dancers. Moving on to the headpieces worn by the female dancers. They are adorned with exquisite flower and golden ornaments. These headpieces serve as a visual representation of the region flora and add an enchanting touch to the overall ensemble. The meticulous detailing and craftsmanship make these headpieces truly remarkable. Point 3, male dancer. Now, let's shift our attention to male Tari Molulo dancer. They also don attire that reflects the traditional aesthetics of the region. The male dancers wear sarongs, just like females, but with distinctive twist, paired with traditional shirt, and the sarongs exhibit the cultural heritage and artistic sensibilities of the region. Completing their look, they wear headbands that add a touch of traditional charm to their appearance. Additional details. It is important to note that these costumes are not merely off-the-shelf garments. They are meticulously handcrafted by skilled artisans for their expensive expertise and creativity into piece. The process of creating this costume is a labor of love. They take several months. The dedication and attention to details involved in the creation are truly awe-inspiring. The costumes of Molulo dancers are not just decorative elements. They are an essential part of dance itself. They vibrant ensembles inspired by region's flora and fauna, add by overall beauty, allure the Tari Molulo performance. They captivate the audience, transporting them into the world cultural richness and artistic expression. So the Tari Molulo dancers' costumes represent the cultural heritage of region, meticulously crafted with traditional elements and adorned with vibrant colors and integrated design. They embody the essence of dance and contribute in mesmerizing splendor. Thank you for joining me in exploring of the captivating costumes of Tari Molulo dancer. 3, significance of Tari Molulo is preserving cultural heritage. One of the key aspects of Tari Molulo is its role in safeguarding ancient tradition, stories, and values. Through the preservation of these cultural elements, Tari Molulo ensured that our heritage remains alive in vibrant generation. To experience and appreciate our heritage remains alive. Appreciate cultural identity. Tari Molulo is not just a dance, it represents the unique cultural identity of our communities. Through its graceful movement and vibrant costumes, Tari Molulo fosters a sense of pride and belonging among those who perform and witness it. It serves as a powerful expression of our cultural heritage and reinforces our collective identity. History connection. The significance of Tari Molulo goes beyond its aesthetic. This dance form holds a strong historical connection to our region. It showcases costumes, expressions, and rituals that have been passed down through generations. Through Tari Molulo, we can glimpse into the rich history of Southeast Sulawesi, honoring the costumes and tradition that have shaped our community. Community engagement. Tari Molulo actively engaged in community. In culture preservation, it becomes a collective effort to honor and protect our cultural heritage. Through learning and performing Tari Molulo, individuals deepen their understanding and connection to their roots. The participation of community ensures that dance and its associated tradition continue to thrive and to be appreciated by the future generations. That's all for me. I'm going to pass it down to my friend, a new member of my group, Andi.
Okay, in here I will give you guys an overview, brief story, and the background of Tari Molulo. So first, we're gonna delve into the rich historical background of Tari Molulo, a dance deeply rooted in the cultural heritage of Southeast Sulawesi. This dance has evolved over time, reflecting the dynamic nature of our traditions and preserving our unique cultural identity. Through Tari Molulo, we not only celebrate our past, but also ensure that our traditions continue to flourish in the present and the future. So moving on, here is the tracing the story of Tari Molulo. First, the 7th century. So as we trace the timeline of Tari Molulo's story, we find that it can be divided into several key milestones. In the 7th century, the dance had its roots in the Southeast Sulawesi cultural practices. And by the 19th century, the distinct dance techniques and movement had developed. And in the 20th century, the efforts to recognize and preserve Tari Molulo gained momentum. So in the 20th century, the momentum where Tari Molulo had spread throughout the Sulawesi happened. And present today, the dance continues to flourish, incorporating modern elements while retaining its traditional essence. And moving on, function. So the function of Tari Molulo in preserving the culture. So we often associate dance with entertainment, right? But Tari Molulo holds a deeper cultural significance and serves multiply functions within the community. Let's delve into these aspects together. First, cultural preservation. Tari Molulo plays a vital role in preserving the cultural heritage of Southeast Sulawesi. It served as a vessel for carrying forward traditional customs, values, stories from generation to generation. And through the dance, the community ensures the continuity of their rich cultural heritage. Moving on. Second, social cohesion. Beyond its artistic expression, Tari Molulo brings people together and fosters a sense of unity and shared identity within the community. The collective participation in the dance strengthens social bonds, creating a strong sense of togetherness and belonging amongst the dancer and the audience. And moving on, communication and expression. So Tari Molulo also serves as a form of non-verbal communication. We use Tari Molulo to communicate to each other, actually, yeah. And through graceful movements and gestures, the dancers can express a wide range of emotions, tell stories, and convey their experiences. It transcends language barriers and allows for deep emotional connection. Moving on, ritual and ceremonial practices. The significance of Tari Molulo extends to rituals and ceremonial practices. The dance is often performed during various important events, adding a sense of sacredness and spirituality. It enhances the ambience and brings a deeper meaning to this occasion. And moving on, education and cultural awareness. Yeah, again, Tari Molulo also serves as an educational tool, passing down cultural knowledge to younger generation. By learning and performing the dance, they gain a deeper understanding of their cultural heritage. It also fosters cultural appreciation, awareness, as well as the recognition. Moving on, symbol and identity and pride. Yeah, Tari Molulo also contributes to the preservation and promotion of Southeast Sulawesi's cultural identity. And it also entails a sense of pride and cultural belonging within the community. The dance showcases the unique tradition and custom of the region, strengthening the community's connection to their roots. And moving on, tourism and economic value. So what we're trying here to say that over time, Tari Molulo has become a cultural attraction, drawing tourists from around the world. Its popularity also contributes to the local economy through tourism-related activities. The dance also serves as a window into the vibrant cultural heritage of Southeast Sulawesi. Okay, so in conclusion, Tari Molulo goes beyond entertainment. It's just not entertainment. It also encompasses cultural preservation, social cohesion, communication, education, and etc. This traditional dance holds immense significance for the community, acting as a powerful medium for celebrating and promoting the rich cultural heritage of Southeast Sulawesi. And moving on, talking about dance, we also need to talk about occasion. So the various occasion and events for Tari Molulo take center stage. It's important for us to know that Tari Molulo is performed on numerous occasions, showcasing its versatility and cultural significance. Here are some examples I will tell you guys. First, cultural festival. Tari Molulo is an integral part of cultural festival, like the annual Tari Molulo Festival held in Sulawesi. This vibrant celebration brings together artists, performers, and enthusiasts to showcase the beauty and essence of Tari Molulo. Weddings. Tari Molulo also can be performed at weddings, on weddings, adding a grace and cultural charm to the festivals. It also is a symbolic expression of joy, unity, and celebration of love. That's why nowadays some people do Tari Molulo as a way to find a lover. It's changed over time. Moving on back to the topic, traditional ceremonies. During traditional ceremonies, Tari Molulo holds a special place. It is performed to honor ancestors, mark important milestones, and pay homage to the rich cultural heritage of the region. And moving on to the government events, Tari Molulo is also featured in government events, including state visit, cultural diplomacy, and official ceremonies. It also serves as a representation of local culture and bridge between communities. Moving on, tourism promotion. Also, Tari Molulo also plays a crucial role in promoting tourism in Southeast Sulawesi. So it's one of our tourist attraction. And it is also performed in tourism campaigns, destination showcase, and cultural performances to attract visitors and highlight the region's culture well. And last but not least, Tari Molulo is also can be functioned as educational programs. It's incorporated into educational programs to preserve and transmit cultural heritage to younger generations. School, for example, cultural institutions, and community centers organize workshops as well. and promote performances to teach and inspire students about this traditional form. Okay, now we're moving on to the instrument and music. When we're talking about dance, we also not forget about the music. So when you're dancing, there must be a music, it must be followed by the music. So the mesmerizing instrument and music that accompany the enchanting Tari Molulo dance. There are three key components of the musical ensemble for Tari Molulo. They are kendang and gempul. And I'm gonna explain to you guys about the overview of these instruments. First, kendang. The kendang is a traditional Indonesian drum that holds a central role in Tari Molulo performances. It also produces rhythmic beats synchronized with the dancer's movement, and the kendang player skillfully controls the intensity and tempo, adding dynamic energy to the dance. And next is gempul. The gempul is a traditional bamboo percussion instrument often used in the Tari Molulo. It consists of bamboo tubes of different lengths and producing distinct pitches when struck. The gempul players create rhythmic patterns and melodies that enhance the overall musical composition and create an immersive experiences. So these instruments form the core of Tari Molulo, musical accompaniment, providing the pulse and melody that drive the dance forward. The powerful beats of the kendang and gempul tunes to work in a harmony to create a captivating, vibrant atmosphere during the Tari Molulo. Now, moving on for the music. Look, now let's explore the diverse musical accompaniment that enriches the Tari Molulo dance, creating a truly immersive experience. First, in here I will just give you guys a brief. Just like first, like live percussion, and second is melodies, flutes. So we see like live percussion is like the energetic beats of the kendang and gempul. Drums provide a strong rhythmic foundation for Tari Molulo. And melodies flutes is the enchanting melodies of bamboo flutes, such as the suing resonate throughout Tari Molulo performances as well. And resonant gongs, the resounding tones of gongs, such as like the gong ageng, punctuate the dance with their rich and reverberating sound and string instruments. So this traditional string instrument, like the gambus or the kecapi, may accompany Tari Molulo. It also provides melodic layers and intricate rhythms. And next is percussive instruments. In addition to the drums, percussive instruments like the angklung, tamborin may be incorporated to enhance the rhythm and add texture to Tari Molulo. And last, ensemble combination. So Tari Molulo may also feature a combination of different instruments and ensembles, such as the gamelan or traditional orchestra. These ensembles bring together a variety of instruments, creating a rich sounds that elevate the dance to the new heights. So, moving on, the evolution. So, the evolution of Tari Molulo between in the past and in the present. First, the costume. So, in the past, when you want to perform the Tari Molulo, you have to wear the traditional clothes that my friend has explained. But now, today's any kinds of clothes is acceptable. You can wearing like my outfit right now. We can do the Tari Molulo or whatever, as long as it's appropriate to use. And function. So in the past, Tari Molulo preserve culture, embodies identity, connect with spirituality, and celebrates tradition. A vibrant dance form that resonates with its community and captivates audiences worldwide. And now, doesn't mean the function changed, but mostly the function is more like for entertainment, busting petty, and even looking for a lover. As I said before, that some people they also finally use the function of Molulo to find a lover. And occasion, music, and the movement. So Tari Molulo used to be held in some cultural occasions. For example, like when a king welcoming his guests, and the music changed and evolved from kendang kempul to electronic music, as we call as 𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃. Yeah, you can use 𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃 to Tari Molulo as long as it's been, it's really interesting that the music changed from Molulo to kendang kempul to electronic music, follow the change of the era and the movement. So the movement to have so the movement you used to have a specific movement, but now it has a lot of variations. It has a lot of variation of movements. For example, like Tari Molulo used to used to be performed in circle, but now you can also perform it with any kinds of movements that you have created, and stick to the themes of today's presentation. We also have to talk about preservation efforts. That this topic will so the cultural preservation efforts like local community initiatives. So local community community initiative. Local community initiative. We also is one of the ways to preservation efforts to this cultural heritage. Local community initiative. Organizational supports for example like the government, the government initiative as well, and the documentation and digital initiative. So in the fourth point means we can record the amazing of Tari Molulo dance. As you guys know that we live in the society 5.0. Okay, yeah, sorry for I have such a bad connection. Okay, continue for the point number 4. Documentation and digital initiatives. As we know that we live in society 5.0, that means that everything on daily basis use electronic, like TikTok. Also, social media plays a crucial role in the documentation and digital initiative in order to preservation efforts to this cultural heritage. So, we delve into this rich historical background of Tari Molulo, a dance deeply rooted in cultural heritage of Southeast Sulawesi. This dance also has evolved over time and reflecting the dynamic nature of our tradition in preserving our unique cultural identity. And through Tari Molulo, we not only celebrate our past, but also ensure that our tradition continues to flourish in the present and the future. That's all. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. Andi and Mr. Fauzan, for the insightful presentation. That was very interesting to hear a lot about how significant it is for Tari Molulo to be preserved and its uniqueness in society. Now, first and foremost, I would like to apologize to everyone beforehand, as the Q&A session will have to be delayed due to time constraints. And thus, a joint Q&A session for Universitas Haluoleo and the next group, UGM Group 9, will be held jointly after the next session. So for the Haluoleo speakers, I would like to ask of you to stay for a bit and until the Q&A session where you guys can answer the questions asked via the chat box or via the raised hand feature. Will that be okay? Okay, great. Now, without further ado, as we are delaying the Q&A session for later, let us move on to the next group of speakers, which will be Group 9 from the International Cross-Cultural Communication course, Bachelor of Applied English, Gajah Mada University, batch 2022. The members of this group are Chieta, Akmal, and Hanifa, and they will be presenting the topic of unveiling the intersection of arts and government in Yogyakarta's diorama archives. To Group 9, are you guys here?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for the confirmation. All right, without further ado, the stage is yours.
All right, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Before I start this presentation, let me thank the team for successfully organizing this webinar. I would also like to express my gratitude to other presenters for our very memorable and insightful presentation. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Ms. Dewi as our lecturer, and all the other lecturers, as well as the audience who have been watching. Today, we are here to present an interesting topic on unveiling the intersection of the arts government with the title Harnessing Technology for the Preservation of Yogyakarta's Diorama Archive. Before we go, next slide, please. Before we go further, let us introduce ourselves. My name is Akmal. However, I am not alone here. I'm also accompanied by Hanifa and Kita, who will explain our topic further after this. Please, next slide, please. The reason we choose this topic is these days, younger generations are losing interest in going to museums. The stigma that museums are uneventful is the biggest factor. So in this research, we want to testify that museums nowadays are more advanced and engaging, and how effective is using technology as a way to introduce history in a form of museum. Next slide, please. Our team has used qualitative and library research method in this research, and we also put some numerical data from paper researcher, but mainly we use observe directly more. Next slide, please. For this presentation agenda, the first one is about Diorama Archive Jakarta, and the second one is how does Diorama Archives utilize technology, and then is this technology succeeded in terms of prevailing history of Jakarta, and last is the output or the conclusion. Next slide, please. Background: Yogyakarta Diorama Archive is a museum created and managed by 𝗵𝗵𝗍𝗍, which was inaugurated on February 24, 2022. The museum located in the 𝗵𝗵𝗍𝗍 Archive Depot display the history of Yogyakarta in 18 different rooms. The main purpose of establishing this museum is to provide an understanding to the public about the importance of archives. Next slide, please. This is a small video footage of diorama of Yogyakarta.
130 tahun silam untuk menyaksikan bukti autentik sejarah Yogyakarta. Sebuah rekaman peristiwa atau kegiatan masa lalu ditampilkan dalam arsip tekstual, arsip visual, arsip lisan, dan sejarah lisan. Ditata dan ditafsir secara unik dan kreatif untuk memberikan sajian yang informatif dan edukatif sekaligus menghibur. Perpaduan antara seni dan teknologi akan membuat suasana semakin nyata dalam mengungkap peristiwa sejarah, membuka ingatan untuk pengalaman bersama. Mahakarya para seniman di tampilan di sini dibagi dalam 18 ruangan, menampilkan arsip-arsip terkait sejarah panjang Yogyakarta dari era Panembahan Senopati hingga yang terkini. Mempelajari sejarah dapat memperluas wawasan. Mempelajari sejarah memungkinkan manusia zaman sekarang mengetahui kesalahan-kesalahan manusia di masa lalu, atau mengetahui kunci keberhasilan para pendahulu. Yuk saksikan bagaimana runtutan peristiwa sejarah Yogyakarta dalam perpaduan seni dan teknologi yang tidak membosankan. Rencanakan kunjungan Anda sekarang dan sampai bertemu di diorama Arsip Jogja.
Right, next slide, please. So, before we discuss further about the diorama of Yogyakarta Archive, here I will explain a little bit about what is diorama. Diorama was originally founded by Louis-Jacques Daguerre. Daguerre was a landscape painter from Paris in 1822. Daguerre and his partner, Charles Marie Baden, opened an exhibition in Paris called 𝗬𝗪𝗲. As we can see in the photo, this is a form of exhibition created by Daguerre or called 𝗬𝗪𝗲. Daguerre played with the light and shadow, blur and transparency, and even the use of colored lights and filters to add additional effects to his dioramas to give them life and vibrancy. Thus, diorama became more and more popular over time. Until the 20th century, dioramas became popular among archival institutions. Hence, dioramas are known as dioramas archive. Next slide, please. At this time, the term diorama refers to a display consisting of a painted background, three-dimensional vegetation, and a foreground with models of people or animals. Nowadays, diorama are also known as 3D displays that show certain phenomena that indicate a situation or activity. From all of these aspects, we can find out why it can be called the Yogyakarta's archive diorama, where we can see the story of Yogyakarta from various eras in the form of miniatures or mock-ups, human miniatures, pointed background, and also audio-visual. Next slide, please. Next is a discussion about museum, which will be discussed by my friend Hanifah.
Okay, thank you. So next is about what is museum actually. So we'll discuss based on the government regulations. Museum is our organizations that work to preserve, expand, make use of, and disseminate collections to the public. So it's also defined as a permanent institution that is open to the public, doesn't seek profit, and serve society and its development, and collects, preserve, researches, shares, and exhibits tangible and intangible cultural, environmental heritage for the purpose of research, education, and recreation. So in the case of Diorama Archive, they fulfill the criteria of a museum as they are a permanent institution that showcase our archival to the public. So this archive being tangible and intangible cultural heritage are collect, preserve, and research for education and recreation purposes. Next slide, please. So how does Diorama connect with museum? And also the reason is in the Diorama archive, there are various historical archive of Yogyakarta are stored and showcased from different sources. So this align from the definition or from government regulations as well, that they were to preserve, expand, make use of, and disseminate collections to the public. So according to that regulations, Diorama Archive Yogyakarta is categorized as a museum based on that regulation in the governments and the international standard as well. So it can be summarized that a museum is a place where objects are displayed, while a diorama is a type of exhibit often found with a museum that presents a three-dimensional representation of scene or event. Okay, next slide, please. So can be seen in the picture. It is evidence of archival sources. So based on the information we got there, they work together with consisting of 2,050 artists, curators, historians, academics, and archival practitioners, and several expert audiovisual and information technology experts. Next. And then diorama utilize technology with very interesting by using projector as audiovisuals and augmented reality or AR and material views hologram. And they also use lighting and shadow technique that affect each atmosphere on each era in every room sessions. So for the next slide, it will be a sneak peek of the lighting there. Next. So, it will different vibes in each rooms.
Nanti di depan disambil kaki dia yang kanan nasi boleh kalau mau duduk silakan di baris pertama maupun baris kedua.
Well, next. The next page will be presented by my friend Chita.
Okay, so now I will take over and explain further about the technology that is being used in the Diorama Archive Museum and how it affects the visitor. So first things first, the most noticeable feature from this museum is actually the projector. So Diorama used projector as a way to show videos about histories of Yogyakarta in different period of time. And they also utilize audio as well to fit the period of time even more. So here I'm quoting from 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪 and ugm. Audiovisual is important in the learning process that is included all senses and experiences. Supported students' participation, stimulates students' interest, and become a learning source. So this way, visitor can be more engaged into the materials that is given. Next slide, please. Okay, so the museum also made use of augmented reality, or AR in this instance. So the museum tour guide advised us to download an app from the Arsip Jogja website before visiting. So by simply pointing the phone at the object will actually trigger an automated scan by the app, which will then display details of the object itself. So this is done in order for the visitor to learn more about the historical item on display at the museum. So this is yet another approach to attract the visitors. The strong base of information we have about the visual system actually make it more appealing target for studies out of curiosity. Next slide, please. And then the last technology that they use is hologram. So we can notice from the museum that a very subtle use of hologram was actually used in the museum. It's actually a good idea to use hologram as it will feel more direct to a certain period of time. So this hologram is actually really interesting to see, and this is a very advanced way to showcase history. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so the big question here is, does this technology actually succeed in terms of effectiveness as a way to showcase history? So here I'm quoting from Interactive Design and Implementation of a Digital Museum under the background of AR and blockchain technology. The result of their research shows that from the perspective of young people, the average interactivity of traditional museum and digital museum was 47.20% and 78.20% respectively. From their perspective of the elderly, the average interactivity of traditional museum and digital museum was actually 59.4% and 70.36%. So from this data itself, it can be concluded that interactive technologies used in museums is a very great way to preserve history. Why? Because like visitors may have further curiosity about the history, and in a way, it may actually transfer knowledge to each visitors, and then they may be interested more in history. And that's a really good way to preserve history. Okay, so it is safe to say that it is highly effective to use technologies in museum. Next slide, please. So from the information and the data that we have gathered, As well as the direct observation on the spot, we can conclude that technology plays an important role in history preservation. People are very much likely to be interested in going place that shows history in an advanced way, and we as a younger generation should utilize technology wisely. So next slide, please. This is some of the brief references that we use to this presentation. Next slide, please. So that actually marks the end of our very presentation today. So I want to thank you so much for keeping up with us until the end of our presentation. So now we are open to discussion. So if you have anything to deliver, please put it in the chat box. Now I will give the session back to the moderator. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the amazing presentation, Group 1. It was very interesting to hear how the advancement of technology has actually helped museums to keep up with the time. Although I do think it's a shame that most younger generations are not too keen on visiting museums. However, I do hope that with the current advancement of technology, that will change one step at a time. Okay, now as I've mentioned before, we will now be holding a joint Q&A session where participants may ask questions to the two groups of speakers from 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪 University and the first group of Gajah Mada University. Please feel free to raise your hand and ask your questions, or type them in the chat box down below. Now, actually, we already have one question for ugm1. So let me read it from the chat box from Dian Fitri. For ugm1, how do the Yogyakarta archive dioramas represent various aspects of Yogyakarta culture and history?
Okay, so maybe I will answer this one. So how do Yogyakarta archive diorama represent various aspects of Yogyakarta culture and history? So it needs to be mentioned that when we entered the museum, we can actually see different aspects of Yogyakarta culture. In terms of entertainment, we can actually see in how each period of year is actually showcasing different medias. So I remember when we entered the 1990s, where it is definitely more advanced. There are posters about movies that is probably trending at the time, and then that is in form of entertainment. And then another aspect of Yogyakarta culture and history is that they also show the dance, the traditional dance, and then they also actually utilize audio as well to use music, traditional music, for showcasing the history or culture of Yogyakarta. So I think that actually how they showcase it is by, as I mentioned before, by using the projector and then by using audio visual as well. So that is my answer for that.
Thank you very much for the answer, Group 1. I hope that answered your question, Dian Fitri. Actually, for Group Uho, I actually have a question that I would like you guys to answer first before we move on to the second question for ugm1. So for Universitas 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪, now I think I think we all know that dancing is a very unique passion that has a lot of potentials. However, going back from experience, dancing isn't something that practically everyone or anyone can do or have interest in. Now, in your opinion, how can we, as the younger generation, combat that and continue to preserve dances?
Please give me a minute to think about the answer.
That's quite all right. While the answer will be thought of, we would like to move on to the second question for ugm1. This one is from Jesse Jamaica Pratiwi. For ugm1, thank you very much for your presentation. I would like to ask what's your opinion on whether or not using that kind of technology, such as the one seen in the diorama archives, has the potential to yield effective results if implemented across all museums. This is a very great question. So for ugm Group 1, would you like to answer this now?
Okay,
I will answer this question. Thank you for the question, Jessie. So, in my opinion, using technology in a museum that is with can be engaging ways to display that interpret the material, but I think not all museums may benefit with the same technology due to any factors from each museum, such as the nature of their collections and resources like that. Maybe technology, in my opinion, technology can help museum reach a wider audience. So it depends the kind and matters on this museum itself. That's my question. That's the answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the answer, Group 1. So for Jessie, I hope that answered your question. For Universitas 𝙎𝗪𝗎𝗄, are you ready to provide an answer, or would you like to provide the answer through the chat box later on?
So I will answer the question. How can we, as a young generation, that all not practically can dance to preserve the culture of Tari Molulo? So, as a young individuals, we may not be directly involved in dancing, especially in Tari Molulo. There are still several ways we can contribute to preserving this cultural heritage. First, educate and raise awareness, like learn about the history, significance, and cultural value of Tari Molulo. We can share this knowledge with others to create awareness and appreciation for the dance. Also, second, you can support cultural events like attending Tari Molulo performances and cultural festivals where the dance is showcased. By participating and showing interest in this event, we can encourage and support the preservation of this tradition. And last but not least, the most important one is document and share. Use modern technology to capture videos, photographs, and interviews related to Tari Molulo. Like, for example, you can record the Tari Molulo and post it on TikTok, where TikTok is easily to you can what we call as get to FYP and share these recordings on social media also or other platforms to promote awareness and understanding of the dance. That's it.
Thank you very much for the complete answer, Mr. Andy. So due to time constraints, while we do have more questions for Universitas 𝙎𝗪𝗎𝗄, I think you may answer them through the chat box because we are running out of time for the first Q&A session. So once again, I would like to thank Universitas 𝙎𝗪𝗎𝗄 speakers for your great presentation and for the first group of the UGM speakers for the complete presentation of the advancement of technology for diorama archives. Okay, now, if there are no more questions, again, I would like to thank the team. And for the next session, we will move on to the speakers from Universitas Jambi. Members of the group are Elva Sahara, Sri Retina, and Yuni Rahayu, with the theme Gen Z as the Agent Development of Jambi's Culture. Are you guys ready? Okay, I think they're all present. So without further ado, to Universitas Jambi speakers, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you for the time. First of all, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning to noon, everyone. Firstly, I would like to say the utmost gratitude toward God for leading us to get into the event with good and stable state of health. I also would like to say thank you for the audience. Hereby I, Sri Retina, as moderator of my group, guide you until the presentation and my member, Elva Sahara and Yuni Rahayu from Jambi University. Try to Elva Sahara for explain the first material. To Elva Sahara, time is yours.
Next slide, please. Okay, thank you so much for the time. Do you know, guys, who is the person this speak? Sorry, itu. Okay. Next slide, please. Okay. I will tell you about history of Tengkolo and Laca. Tengkolo and Laca is the traditional clothes on the head. Tengkolo is head wrap for women of the Kerinci Melayu community in Jambi. This headwear serves as head protector, also reflecting the social state of the culture. Tengkolo has been available since the days of Melayu Kingdom. The existence of Tengkolo is known to have existed since the 7th century. In the past, Tengkolo was used by Jambi women to cover their heads when attending traditional events and daily activities such as in farming. Tengkolo has 19 types used by Jambi women. Every type has a different meaning and a philosophy, commonly wearing Jambi women as symbol of beauty. In addition to Tengkolo, Jambi culture has a head Jambi. In addition to Tengkolo, Jambi culture has a head covering for men, which is often called laca. Laca means brave. This headband was formerly worn by kings, warriors, and Jambi commander. Laca, which is a symbol of authority, wisdom, and social status of the wearer. Initially, laca was known as one of the traditional wear for men who are in Jambi Melayu tribe. In their traditional dress, Jambi men wear laca on their heads. Next is the philosophy of Tengkolo and laca, which will be explained by Sri Ratina. Time is yours.
Okay, thank you for the time. Next slide, please. Okay. Oh, sorry. Philosophy of Tengkolo and Laca. The philosophy of the Tengkolo itself it is neatness, because the Tengkolo show the neatness of the woman, the social cultural status, and identifies in the dignity of the wearers. The obedience of women to the teaching of Islam in the accordance with the Quran and Hadith. And there is a separate meaning for the wearer, such as is the person with the Tengkolo with the dangles that falls in the right position. It indicates that the woman already has a companion or is married. Then is a position of the Tengkolo, standing is dropping in the left position. It indicates that the woman is still a girl or not married. This is a story that developed in ancient times. If a woman who wears a Tengkolo with a stand falling to the left means he's still a girl, can be seduced by single men. The philosophy of this traditional culture is that lacak for Jambi Malay men, it is symbolize the leadership system carried out by their husband is a whose whole life, in order to protect and maintain and convince the community through profession and the feast of life together. And it is also a symbol of the authority, wisdom, and the social status of the wearer. Initially, laca was known as one of the pieces in the equipment in the Jambi man's traditional clothing. for men who are in the Jambi Mulai tribe. In their traditional dress, Jambi men wear lacak on their hand. The fame of Jambi lacak also has a positive impact on the economy. The business of making lacak began to spread. One of them in the more Jambi tourism village, the business of making lacak harvest orders. It was in there were many stands from small and medium enterprise selling on the offering lacak when the Jambi Temples Festival 2017 years ago. Lacak is made from batik cloth on the inside, white their paper which is intended to make it hard. However, they are also made of songket cloth, which cotton yarn in the form of the four square. The motif is draped with the gold thread, red color, and the width is made hardened with thick paper in the form of breaking chicken wings. Reflection: the chicken wings cannot fly anymore because they have been treated with the marriage robe as a husband. Just like lacak, Tengkuluk is made of batik cloth and there is also songket cloth. And the way is a war varies according to the region in the province of Jambi. I think is the last material I going to explain. And next, the last material explain to Uni Rahayu. Go back to Uni Rahayu. Time is yours.
Okay, next slide, please. Sorry, am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay, thank you. So our material is about how to maintain lacak and Tengkuluk by Gen Z and the government. Okay, currently both the government and the younger generation of Jambi are collaborating to preserve lacak and Tengkuluk. So the first one is the government agency is activating the preservation of lacak and Tengkuluk on official government activities and national days. All of the staff use mix and match with Melayu clothes, like the photos that show in our PPT. And another one is in the Independence Jambi City Day. This form of a policy is a step forward to popularize Jambi's local wisdom, including as a tourism asset. And the second one is in the activity like Bujang Gadis Jambi, it's kind of even like Abang None Jakarta, and language ambassadors, or we call Duta Bahasa, genre ambassador, or we call Duta Genre, usually use lacak and Tengkuluk to increase the popularity. Okay, next slide, please. And the third one is in the several schools in Jambi City, the students have been required to use lacak and Tengkuluk to wear every Wednesday and Thursday. This is supposed to introduce our cultural heritage to the Gen Z or to the younger generation. And the last is that traditionally we have to make a Tengkuluk like turban, but nowadays there is also an instant Tengkuluk. Now we have this Tengkuluk that we only adjust to our heads. No need to wrap it around our heads anymore. This is really user-friendly for the younger generation who are new to Tengkuluk because it's totally easy to use. Okay, that's all about lacak and Tengkuluk from us. Thank you very much. Back to the moderator.
Okay, thank you very much for your insightful presentation about Tengkuluk and lacak. That was very interesting to hear about a different culture's sort of heritage and how their culture is preserved by the current generation, by Gen Z. It's very inspiring, and we hope that we can implement it everywhere throughout Indonesia to ensure the survival of our own culture. Okay, now I would like to remind everyone once again that a Q&A session will only be held after every two speakers. So the next Q&A session will be held after the next group for both Universitas Jambi's group and for the second Universitas Gadjah Mada's group. Okay, now that that's out of the way, let us move on to the second group of Universitas Gadjah Mada speakers with the theme, The Collaboration of Indonesian Culture in Ballroom Dance Sport. The members of the group are Putri, Alvin, and Hanifa. Hello, guys. Are you guys ready? Okay, now without further ado, the time and screen are yours.
All right, thank you for the time for moderator. This is the topic here, the collaboration of Indonesian culture in ballroom dance sport. Next slide. All right, before we talk about our topics here, I would like to introduce our speakers. And the first one is Alvin Ramadan, and then Putri Afifah, and then me, Hanifa Nuraini. Next. So this is the method that we use to get some of the material here. First is library research is based on some journals and several articles. And the second one is qualitative. This is we did an interview with a place for dance practice in Sleman, Yogyakarta. The name is Youth Ballroom. There, they support children and adults to learn dance. Next. So before we talk about ballroom, I will explain to you guys what is dance sport. Dance sport or sport dance is a combination of dance movements and body movements, requiring not only mastery of artistic steps and coordination with the accompanying music rhythm, but also the ability to master choreography, stamina, and cycle strength. Similar to other sport branches such as artistic gymnastics and martial arts, sport dance or dance sport is also a fusion of art, mental stamina, technique, and psychology. Next. So guys, this is the example of dance sport. The first one is line dance, hip hop dance, break dance, and the last one is ballroom dance. And the ballroom dance is our topic today, and it will be explained by my friend Putri Afifah.
So thank you, Afifah. I will explain about ballroom dance. Next slide, please. So ballroom dance is one of the world's most popular social activities accompanied by music. Ballroom dance are typically choreographed couples dance, although several styles include larger groups of people to encourage socialization. People all over the world from all social classes participate in ballroom dance for social interaction, exercise, and their own entertainment. Next slide. Categories of ballroom dance. First is standard ballroom dance. These categories include dance that are characterized by smooth, flowing movement and an emphasis on elegance and poise. Examples of standard ballroom dance are waltz, tango, quick-step, foxtrot, and Viennese. Second is Latin ballroom dance. This category comprises dances that are energetic, rhythmic, and full of expressive movement. Examples of Latin ballroom dance are cha-cha, rumba, samba, and paso doble. Standard ballroom dance focuses on body language, while Latin ballroom dance focuses on body language that is more about hands. So in Indonesia, the most developed ballroom dance category is Latin ballroom dance because it is easy to develop in every region. Next slide. So we got this book photo from the source we have interviewed. According to our interview results, the assessments of the ballroom Ecole Ballroom Dance book that applies worldwide is a very helpful for students and teachers to understand the theory in the world of ballroom. This book is guide in learning ballroom dancing because it contains etiquette of movement, tempo of step, type of song, beat of each movement, and others. Next slide.
Okay, guys. Now I will explain to you about what is collaboration. Collaboration in general refers to the act of working together with others to achieve a common goal or objective. So collaboration concerning Indonesian culture and ballroom dance, it typically involves bringing together individuals or organizations from both realms to promote culture exchange. Next slide. And so if we can combine between Indonesian culture and dance for ballroom, it can help preserve and promote Indonesian traditional dance. So the Indonesian culture is not only known in ASEAN, but also in the whole world. And while also introducing new artistic expressions and opportunities for dancers. And by blending the rich cultural heritage of Indonesia with the technical aspect of dance for ballroom, collaborative efforts can create unique and captivating and experiences for performers and audience alike. Next slide.
So what is the challenges? First, typically in combining traditional dance move with modern dance and incorporating Indonesian culture into ballroom dance. Second, the difficulty of incorporating Indonesian culture into ballroom dance in world competition. Third is public awareness of ballroom dance in Indonesia is still limited. Many people are not familiar with the types of dance in ballroom dance and the benefit that can be achieved from here. Next slide will be explained by my friend Alvin.
So for answer the challenge that we explained before, I will explain about you that ballroom dance that can be collaborated with traditional dance is Latin ballroom. More specifically is Latin American style ballroom because the dancer didn't always hold each other hand, so they can make any variety of movement in their hand for the traditional dance. And then the main point of collaborating traditional and ballroom dance movement is in the courage and creativity of the ballroom dancer himself, especially in their trainer. Next slide, please. So we have a journal that can be strengthen our argument, and we conclude that for the creativity is like we have to have a what if mindset, because the creative person, they always imagine things that do not exist and come up with new ideas. And then the creativity requires flexibility, like explore many things, not in the one source, and imagination, like what if I put this movement in ballroom? How is this movement in ballroom? Problem solving and risk taking is like our courage to take a step, because if we didn't have courage and take a step, our ideas will be forever in our mind and cannot be implemented. Then creative people from original ideas through the exploration and discovery. Next slide, please. So this is the variation of dance movement. Is forehand is gerak meeting, for the next pacak bulu, and for the foot, for now is it cannot be implementation because the foot of ballroom dancer is should be wear heels and the power is in the front foot, and many of the traditional dance is in the heels of foot. Next slide, please. For the costume, there are many ballroom dance in Indonesia that have been implemented this traditional culture in costume. Like they have batik from their city to the costume, their motif, their fabrics, and the makeup can be also implemented like the makeup 𝗪𝗪 Jawa, the one that the one like in the picture, like you can see in the brides and sanggu. For music, there is not many music culture in ballroom because they need more money to be sponsors to arrangement the music, but the pure music. But there is a collaboration like electronic dance music. There are some that collaborate Indonesia music with EDM like Tari that be successful and have over 100 million viewers in YouTube. Next. And then for increased public awareness, the ballroom dancer from our interview has already collaborated with Government Tourism Office. Before COVID in 2019, our source person has been collaborate with tourism to show outsider of Jogja about the performance in ballroom. But due to COVID-19, this plan is postponed and will be continued this November. And with Indonesian Education Office is our ballroom dancer is like collaborating in extracurricular in school. And for social media education is they will know the capacity to know new things, and when it happens, this allows them to refresh their own particular information base. Like for students, will explore new things in social media like Facebook. Next. Next slide. And the collaboration conclusion is this: the collaboration of Indonesian culture and ballroom and sport bring many benefits for us. It makes our culture more famous all over the world, attract our ballroom dancers to be more creative, and attract our public interest in ballroom or dance sport. So thank you for your attention. For the Master of Ceremony, the time is yours.
Okay, I'll take over. Thank you very much, Group 2 of Universitas Gadjah Mada, for your insightful presentation. Now, I think dance sport is something that is inherently unique, and it is something that not a lot of people know, so it's very interesting to hear more about it. Okay, without further ado, let us move on to the second Q&A session for both Universitas Jambi and the second group of Universitas Gadjah Mada. Now, for Universitas Jambi, I actually have a question regarding your topic on Gen Z and the government. So, generally speaking, there is bound to be a generational gap between Gen Z and government officials in general. And this, of course, comes with its own problems. Now, I would like to ask you, how does the Jambi society mitigate this issue to ensure good teamwork? For Universitas Jambi, would you like to answer the questions now? Hello, are members of Universitas Jambi present?
Okay, thank you for the question, but we will give us the couple of times to answer the question.
Okay, answering through the chat box is also okay. So if you require to deliver the answer via the chat box, please tell me. Okay, next up we have two participants of the Zoom call who would like to ask their questions directly. So for the presenter from 𝗪𝗪𝗪 University, Andi Nur Taqwa, please ask away.
I'm from Jambi myself, and I do aware of Bengkulu and Lacak. So my question is, how do you see Gen Z engagement with Bengkulu and Lacak shaping the future narrative of Jambi cultural identity? And what measures can be taken to ensure their active participation in preserving this tradition from generation to come?
Okay, let me reiterate the question. So it's about how Gen Z is shaping the preservation and how it can ensure the preservation of culture. Would that be correct?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for the great question, Andi. For Universitas Jambi, would you like to keep this question for later, or would you like to answer them now?
We keep the answer later.
Okay, thank you very much for the confirmation, Universitas Jambi. Next, we have our Master of Ceremony, Joans Elia Asdika. To Joans, you may ask your question.
All right, so I know I'm the MC, but I cannot help but to ask a question myself for the Universitas Jambi. So about the Tengkuluk and Lacak, correct? I'm not sure if you have mentioned this in your presentation or I might have forgot it, but I will ask regardless. So in which during occasion that you have to wear Tengkuluk and Lacak, the uniforms, what is it? The traditional uniform of Tengkuluk and Lacak, because like any other traditional outfit, you usually have to wear them during certain occasion, right? I would like to elaborate more on that, if you don't mind. That's my simple question. I hope really. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for the questions, Joans. So your question would be the occasion in which you have to wear the traditional uniforms. So for Universitas Jambi, I think you can keep the question for later as well, or would you like to answer them now?
Okay, we will keep the question later. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for the confirmation. Now, moving on to the chat box, there are quite a lot of questions for the second group of Universitas Gadjah Mada speakers. So the first one comes from Pristiara, and the question is for the second group of speakers from UGM. How is the process of merging Indonesian culture with ballroom dance? How does that merge happen? So for group 2, would you like to answer the question now, or would you like to keep them for later?
All right, I will answer Christian's question. So I think this process involves collaboration between dancers and proficient in both dance style. They blend the movement of traditional dance with elements of ballroom dance. On this process, maintaining a harmony between two cultures is important. They understand the meaning of traditional Indonesian movements and respect the principle of ballroom dance to achieve harmony in the fusion. I think that's all. I hope the answer your question.
Thank you very much for the clarification, Group 2. Let's move on to the next question for group 2. Is aerobics included in dance sport? Because as we know that aerobics also uses music. If yes, what is the reason? And if no, what are the reasons? So for group 2, would you like to answer them now, or would you like to keep them for later and answer through the chat box? Okay, I think it would be better if you answered it through the chat box, as you might need time to answer that question, because that's also a really good question from 𝙎𝗂𝗖𝙢𝙖𝙢𝙗𝙬. Okay, the next question is for ugm to again. Do the dance moves incorporated into dance sport have any meaning? So for group 2, would you like to answer them now or keep them for the chat box? Okay, once again, this is also a pretty interesting question, so I think it would be better if you kept it for the chat box. Okay, so for the unanswered question, please look forward to the answers for the chat box down below. Okay, and with that ends the second Q&A session for today, for this event. Now, last but certainly not least, let me call upon the final speaker for today's event, Ms. Samantha Perez of Oberlin Shanxi. Hello, Ms. Samantha. Hey, I hope you're in a good condition. So before we start, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and sort of what you do and your backgrounds?
Yes. So my name is Samantha Perez. I'm a Shanxi Fellow from Oberlin College. I studied sociology and Latin American studies. And currently I am working as a guest lecturer at Universitas Gadjah Mada, working in both FIB, Fakultas Ilmu Budaya, and CRCS, the Center for Religious and Cross-Cultural Studies, working as a English teacher, both assisting writing and speaking classes, as well as academic writing.
Oh, thank you very much for the introduction. So you have a really rich portfolio. That was very interesting to hear. Now, thank you very much again for the introduction. Now, without further ado, let's get right into the topic, language learning as a form of cultural preservation. To Ms. Samantha, the screen is yours.
All right, thank you very much. Hello and good afternoon, everyone. I'm very humbled to be speaking among such intelligent speakers and learning about such interesting topics. So thank you so much for having me here today. As both a language learner and a language teacher, I wanted to talk a bit about how language learning can be an act of cultural preservation. So we can go to the next slide. Okay, so cultural preservation refers to the intentional efforts aimed at safeguarding and maintaining the traditions, values, practices, knowledge, and artifacts of a particular culture or community. This involves the protection, promotion, and transmission of cultural heritage from one generation to another. Cultural preservation is essential in today's world due to several reasons. First, preserving cultures ensures the continuation of diverse ways of life, beliefs, and expressions. It recognizes the value of different perspectives and enriches human experiences by fostering intercultural dialogue and understanding. It also allows individuals and communities to maintain their unique identities and sense of belonging. It provides a framework for self-identification, connecting people to their roots, heritage, and shared history, while also fostering a sense of pride and solidarity to various groups of people. Cultures also embody a wealth of traditional knowledge, wisdom, and skills that have been accumulated over generations. Preserving cultural heritage ensures the continuity of this knowledge, allowing future generations to benefit from the accumulated wisdom of their ancestors. It can also be a significant driver of economic development. Preserving cultural traditions like arts and crafts and various practices can contribute to tourism, creative industries, as well as sustainable economic growth, providing livelihoods and opportunities for communities. So in today's interconnected and globalized world, culture preservation is of the utmost importance to ensure the diversity and resilience of human societies. And it also contributes to a more inclusive, tolerant, and culturally rich world where different cultures can coexist, learn from each other, and thrive. So we can go to the next slide. So language learning plays a crucial role in preserving cultural heritage by serving as a means to transmit and maintain the unique elements of a culture. Many cultures have rich oral traditions, including stories, myths, legends, and songs, which carry valuable knowledge and insights. Language learning allows individuals to engage with these oral traditions, understand their cultural significance, and pass them on to future generations. And by learning the language associated with these traditions, individuals can access and preserve indigenous knowledge that might otherwise be lost. Language also carries cultural nuances, idiomatic expressions, and unique ways of thinking that are deeply embedded in a culture's worldview. So by learning a language, individuals gain insights into the cultural context, values, beliefs, and societal norms. They can understand and appreciate the subtle intricacies of a culture's communication style, their humor, various metaphors, which are often lost in translation. Language learning also enables individuals to access and appreciate a culture's literary works, including poems, novels, plays, and historical texts. And by studying and interpreting these texts in their original language, learners thus can gain a deeper understanding of the various cultural themes, historical events or context, and societal issues that are significant to that particular culture. So language learning preserves and promotes the cultural heritage embedded in these literary works. So all in all, language is a fundamental aspect to cultural identity. When individuals learn their ancestral or their heritage language, they often can strengthen their connection to their cultural roots, fostering a sense of pride and belonging. So it empowers individuals to preserve their cultural heritage, as well as passing it on to future generations, ensuring its continuation. So go to the next slide. Language learning can help prevent the extinction of endangered and minority languages. So when individuals learn and use these languages, they contribute to their vitality and create opportunities for intergenerational transmission. So by preserving these languages, cultural diversity is maintained and unique cultural perspectives and worldviews are preserved. There are several notable examples of cultures that have been preserved through language learning. So I highlighted just 4 of them. The first is Hawaiian culture. The Hawaiian language, also known as Olelo Hawaii, has played a significant role in preserving Hawaiian culture. Following a decline in native speakers due to colonization and cultural suppression, efforts were made to revive the language. So language learning programs, immersion schools, and various community initiatives have helped to revitalize the Hawaiian language, contributing to the preservation of Hawaiian cultural practices like music, dance, or hula, and traditional knowledge. There's also the Maori culture in New Zealand. So the Maori language, which is also known as Te Reo Maori, is an essential part of Maori cultural preservation. Revitalization efforts have led to the establishment of Maori language immersion schools, also known as Kura Kaupapa Maori, where children are taught in the language. So these language learning initiatives have played a significant role in preserving their cultural practices, such as storytelling, traditional arts, and indigenous knowledge. There's also Navajo culture, which is Native American. So the Navajo language, known as Dine Bizad, holds immense importance in preserving Navajo culture. Despite facing many challenges, language revitalization programs and schools have focused on teaching the Navajo language to younger generations. And by learning the language, Navajo youth can engage with traditional ceremonies, storytelling, arts, and cultural practices, contributing to the preservation of Navajo heritage. And the 4th example is Inuit culture. So there are various Inuit languages, and they are essential to the preservation of Inuit culture. And language learning initiatives, particularly in Inuit communities, have focused on teaching these languages to younger generations. And by learning these languages, individuals can engage with Inuit cultural practices such as traditional storytelling, as well as unique knowledge related to their Arctic environments, as well as sustainability practices. And this is pretty similar to how Javanese literature, traditional arts, music, and dance are taught and performed in the Javanese language. So ensuring that the younger generations are taught the language also ensures that these traditional cultures are continued. So we can go to the next slide. Learning a second language offers a plethora of benefits for individuals and societies. It can expand your horizons, broaden your cultural understanding, and opens doors to new opportunities. And many studies show that bilingual individuals often demonstrate enhanced cognitive abilities, such as improved problem-solving skills, creativity, and multitasking. Moreover, learning a second language can boost employability, foster cross-cultural communication, and even delay cognitive decline in later life. So there are many various methods and approaches that are used in language learning that cater to different needs and preferences. There are the traditional methods that focus on grammar, vocabulary, and reading comprehension. However, there are more modern approaches that emphasize communicative competence, which encourages learners to actively use language in meaningful contexts. There are methods like a directed method, which emphasizes immersive oral communication. Also, audiolingual method, which focuses on repetitive drilling of language patterns. And also task-based learning, which promotes communication and problem solving through tasks and role plays. And all three of these methods are very widely practiced. There's also immersion, interaction, and cultural exposure, which also play pivotal roles in language acquisition. Immersion involves surrounding yourself with the language, either by living in a country where it's spoken or through immersive language programs. Immersion provides a rich linguistic environment, allowing learners to absorb the language naturally. Interaction is also vital in language learning, engaging in conversations with native speakers, language exchange programs, or participating in language clubs. And meetups often can facilitate practical application and help you to build confidence. Cultural exposure is also a gateway to understanding a language deeply. Learning about the customs, traditions, and values of a culture associated with the language enhances communication, as well as fosters cultural sensitivity. So it enables the learner to grasp the nuances, idiomatic expressions, and cultural references that are often embedded within the language. So I'm going to go to the next slide. So as a language learner myself, I'm very familiar with the difficulties of language learning. So pronunciation is often a significant hurdle, as different languages have unique sounds and phonetic systems. So mastering the correct pronunciation requires a lot of practice, as well as listening skills and the ability to mimic native speakers. Grammar can also be another challenge, as each language has its own grammar rules, where sentence structures and verb conjugations can differ. So understanding and internalizing these patterns can take a lot of time and consistent effort, in addition to vocabulary acquisition. So learning endangered languages also presents unique challenges due to their limited resources, reduced number of speakers, and the potential lack of standardized learning materials. So when it comes to endangered languages, there is often a lack of comprehensive learning resources, such as textbooks, dictionaries, and language courses. And compared to widely spoken languages, there may be limited materials available to support learners in acquiring vocabulary, grammar, and language skills. So these endangered languages often face pressures from dominant languages, such as cultural assimilation and globalization. And the declining number of speakers and reduced usage of the language within communities can pose significant challenges to language learning efforts, as well as cultural preservation. So as mentioned before, immersion in language and culture is essential for language acquisition. However, due to limited resources and limited number of speakers, as well as potential geographic dispersion of communities, Finding immersion opportunities in endangered languages can be challenging. So this can hinder learners' ability to develop natural fluency and cultural understanding. And without sufficient institutional support and revitalization efforts, endangered languages may face difficulty in providing structured language programs, education initiatives, and community support systems. So this lack of resources and recognition can impede sustained efforts in learning and revitalizing these languages. So we can go to the next slide. So there are many consequences in regards to neglecting cultural preservation, particularly in terms of language. So when a culture's language is neglected and not actively preserved, it becomes vulnerable to language loss and ultimately extinction. Languages carry unique ways of expressing thoughts, cultural nuances, and historical knowledge. So when a language disappears, a wealth of cultural and linguistic diversity can be lost forever. So language is deeply intertwined with cultural identity. Neglecting language preservation can also lead to a loss of cultural identity, as subsequent generations might become disconnected with their linguistic and cultural heritage. And this erosion of cultural identity can result in individuals feeling a sense of detachment, cultural disorientation, and a loss of pride in their ancestral traditions and customs. And this is something that I relate to as a second-generation immigrant from the United States. Both of my parents immigrated from different countries, so while English is their second language, it was also their only shared language together. Therefore, I wasn't taught Korean or Spanish at home, as my mom is from Korea, my dad is from Cuba. So although there are many ways that I might still feel connected to my heritage, not learning those languages from a young age has led to a lot of feelings of disconnect from both of my cultures, which is how some children of immigrants who don't speak their parents' first language may feel as well. So it is essential to recognize the consequences of neglecting cultural preservation in terms of language. Efforts to revitalize and preserve endangered languages, supports language education, and encourage intergenerational transmission of cultural knowledge are crucial for maintaining linguistic diversity, cultural identity, and the overall well-being of communities. We can go to the next slide. So by embracing language learning, we have the power to safeguard our own cultural heritage and foster appreciation for the diverse cultures around us. Language learning allows us to delve into the intricacies of a culture, to understand its history, traditions, and values. It is also through language that we can unlock doors to our collective past, connect with our ancestors, and keep their stories alive. And by preserving our own language, we ensure the continuity of our cultural identity for future generations. We can provide them with the tools to explore their roots, to embrace their heritage, and to celebrate the richness of our collective human experience. Language learning also opens our minds to the beauty of other cultures. It breaks down barriers, fosters empathy, and promotes cross-cultural understanding. And through language, we can discover shared experiences, forge connections, and celebrate the rich tapestry of human diversity. So I encourage all of you to embark on your own journey of language learning, whether it's your family's language or a foreign language that captivates your interest. You can embrace it as a means of cultural preservation. So as we learn to preserve languages, we also honor the voices of our ancestors and contribute to human linguistic and cultural diversity. That's it for me. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you very much for the insightful presentation, Ms. Samantha. That was really interesting to hear. I do agree that, generally speaking, language is in fact one of the most basic, important aspects of culture. And thus it is important and imperative for us to actually preserve the language so that the culture may survive. Okay, last but not least, we will hold a Q&A session for Ms. Samantha. So for anyone who would like to ask a question to Ms. Samantha, please do not hesitate to raise your hands and ask away. Now, before we move on to the questions from the participant, I actually do have a question for you, Ms. Samantha, regarding the existence of extinct language and endangered languages. So you did mention that endangered languages can be preserved through hard work, albeit, and it is able to be revitalized. However, I would like to ask, is it feasible for an extinct language to be revived or resurrected? What are your thoughts on that?
That's a good question. I do think it is possible. I think there are certain qualifications that it takes to have a language be classified as extinct. I don't know those exact qualifications, but I think it has to do with the number of people who can speak the language. But I think if there are initiatives and there are groups of people that are dedicated to the efforts to revitalize a language, I do think it's possible as long as there are resources that allow for that to happen. But again, like you mentioned, it would take a lot of hard work. But I think it is possible if you are dedicated enough to put a lot of efforts into learning that language.
Okay, thank you very much for the great answer, Ms. Samantha. That did help me sort of get through this dilemma I have about extinct languages. So yeah, thank you very much. Again, I would like to reiterate that it is very important for us to preserve our languages, albeit it may seem difficult at first, as we all know that language learning is very hard and not easy to do. But however, through hard work, we should be able to preserve languages as far as we can to the far future. Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Samantha. For the participants, are there any questions that you would like to ask? Okay, we have a comment from Universitas Jambi. Thank you for the question, B. I believe that Lacak and Tekuok used, well, that's for the answers of Universitas Jambi. So thank you, Universitas Jambi, for the answer. For Teresia Felita, she has a question on your opinion on the use of social media. So, hi, Ms. Samantha. My name is Feli, and I'd like to ask about your opinion on the use of social media on cultural preservation. This is going to be a very interesting topic. Do you think that it's an effective media for social media in regards to cultural preservation? How can people maximize the use of social media to preserve endangered language or culture? Thank you. So, what do you think, Ms. Samantha?
Yeah, I think social media can definitely be a means to promote and preserve endangered languages. You can use it as a way to spread awareness. You can create a social media campaign. I think there's, a lot of people or a lot of the younger generation spend a lot of time on social media, myself included. So I think it's a really great way, an effective way to promote various cultural traditions or any languages that may need awareness, that may be under threat of extinction. So yeah, I think using social media to especially spread awareness to some of these issues can be very important and can also intrigue younger people and younger generations who are more responsible for continuing the continuity of these languages to be preserved.
Thank you for the answer, Ms. Sam. I actually do agree with you, especially with the prevalence of social media throughout the course of history. We all know that social media is currently becoming more prevalent, and a lot more people have access to it due to the advancement of technology. And so I think it's important for us to recognize the sort of opportunities that comes with the advancement of technology and as we go through the ages in order to preserve our history. So thank you for the answer, Ms. Samantha, and thank you, Feli, for the question. If there are no more questions, I would like to close the Q&A session. So thank you very much, Ms. Sam, for the interesting topic and for the interesting presentation as well. Hopefully this presentation may encourage us to learn more about languages in general. So once again, thank you very much. Up next is a documentation session for the speakers. So in this session, I would like to hold a joint documentation session for all the speakers. So I invite you guys to turn on your cameras as we'll hold an actual photo session with each of the speakers and your certificates as a form of our gratitude for kindly taking your valuable time and sharing your knowledge with us. First of all, I would like to invite Ms. Samantha to pick your best pose and take a picture with our certificate as our form of appreciation for your time and for your efforts. Okay, so for the operator, may I ask for your help in taking a screenshot? Okay, let me count down for you. 3, 2, 1, cheese. Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Samantha. Once again, on behalf of the committee, I would like to say thank you for your time and for sharing your knowledge with us. Up next, we will have students from 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪 to have their pictures taken with their certificates. So for the students of 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪 University, may you please turn on your camera and pick your best pose. Okay, let me count down for you and the operator. 3, 2, 1, cheese. Okay, thank you very much. Let us move on to the next speaker is for Muhammad Fauzan. Is Fauzan here? Or did he have an agenda to attend? I think he's not here, so we will give it to him directly afterwards. Okay, let us move on to the next group of speakers, which will be Group 1 from Universitas Gadjah Mada. For Group 1, would you please turn on your camera and give us your best pose? Okay, for Group 1, early Cheta, 3, 2, 1, and smile. Okay, thank you very much, Cheta. Up next is for Akmal. May you please turn on your camera, and we will take your photo with your certificate as our form of appreciation. Okay, let me count down for you and the operator. 3, 2, 1, and smile. Okay, thank you very much, Akmal. Up next is for the third member, Hanifa. May you please turn on the camera and give us your best pose. Okay, for the operator, let me count down for you. 3, 2, 1, and smile. Thank you very much, Hanifa. Let us move on to the next group of speakers, which are from Universitas Jambi. To Alfa Sahara, may you please turn on your camera? If you're not present, we will give it to you directly. It seems that she's not present, so let us move on to the next speaker, Sri Retina. For Sri Retina, please turn on your camera and give us your best pose and your best smile. Okay, for the operator, let me count down. 3, 2, 1, and smile. Okay, thank you very much, Sri, for your time and for sharing your knowledge with us. Up next will be Yuni Rahayu. If she's available. Okay, there you go. Thank you very much, Yuni. Now pick your best pose and I will count down for you. 3, 2, 1, and smile. Okay, thank you very much, Yuni. Let us move on to the next group of speakers, which will be the second group from Universitas Gadjah Mada. To Alvin, may you please turn on your camera and we can take a picture of you as our form of appreciation. Okay, let me count down for you. 3, 2, 1, and smile. Okay, thank you very much, Alvin. Let us move on to the next speaker. Hanifa Nur Aini, may you please turn on your camera? Okay, Hanifa, pick your best smile and we will take a picture of you shortly. 3, 2, 1, and smile. Thank you very much, Hanifa. Let us move on to the next speaker, which will be Putri Afifah. For Putri, pick your best smile and we will take a picture of you with your certificate. All right, 3, 2, 1, and smile. Okay, that marks the end of the main session. Once again, on behalf of every member of the committee, I would like to thank everyone involved, all the speakers, for attending this event and sharing your knowledge with us and your expertise with us. Once again, I would like to thank everyone for attending, to the participants as well. And this actually marks the end of the session. Thank you once again, and I'll hand this over back to the MC. Tujuans, the screen is yours.
All right. Thank you, 𝗪𝗰𝗲 Mahendra, our moderator, and also thank you to our esteemed speakers and presenters for giving us the absolutely valuable insights and expertise that they have shared with us today. I was afraid that the event would be like very long, beyond 2 hours, which I think we did. But I suppose that's to be expected when you have many speakers to present. But nevertheless, I'm very much happy that everything is all well and presented. If I have to speak for myself, I feel like my brain is flowing with cultural preservation knowledge. All right. No more delay. Since we are in the closing time, before we say goodbye, I would like to take a moment to thank our organizer who helped us make this webinar possible. And also, thank you so much for Param University as our collaborator today. Your contribution to this event has been very impactful here. I also would like to thank the audience for their participation and interest in this webinar event. I believe that the information presented here will be beneficial to all who attended. Now, as we conclude this seminar, the webinar event talk number 47 on May 20 in 2023, I would like to leave you with a quote by Albert Einstein. The important things here is to stop questioning, because curiosity has its own reasoning for existing. So yeah, I hope this seminar has sparked your curiosity and inspired you to learn more about the topic we have covered today. And also, I hope this webinar will inspire you to take actions towards your goal. Okay, thank you for joining us today. We appreciate your time and hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Once upon a younger year, when all our shadows disappeared, the animals inside came out to play. Went face to face with all our fears, learned our lessons through the tears, made memories we knew would never fade. One day my father, he told me, son, don't let it slip away. You took me in, that's how I heard him say. When you get older, your wild heart will live for younger days. Think of me if ever you're afraid. He said one day you'll leave this world behind, so live a life you will remember. My father told me when I was just a child, these are the nights that never die. My father told me. Can't put out, carve your name into those shining stars. He said go venture far beyond the shores, don't forsake this life of yours. I'll guide you home no matter where you are. One day my father, he told me, son, don't let it slip away. When I was just a kid, I heard him say, you get older, your wild heart will live for younger days. Think of me if ever you're afraid. He said one day
conducting and assisting the event we held. So, here's.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Glad to help. Yeah, it's a pleasure to help.
Yay! Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Recording stopped.